and a very happy Christmas and hopefully a brilliant new year to you. And thank you for joining us at the home of Corinthians in Galway City. We are in the upstairs area of our sponsors, the Skeff. And if you can probably hear the crowd in the background, it's because this place has been absolutely packed all day. Reason being, of course, a lot of Christmas parties are going on and a lot of time for people to reflect and look back on the last 12 months. Well, from our senior rugby perspective, it has been a case of looking back on the last 6 months in many ways. And I'm delighted to be joined once again by our Director of Rugby, Michael Harding. Also, two new faces that weren't with us the last time, but I'm delighted that they are here now. And they Liam Carpenter, seconds captain, and also Dermot Tierney, who's the thirds manager, but not in that particular order. Carpo's over on the far right. We'll talk to them as well in a moment. But Michael, I'll start with you. Nice run up to Christmas, beating Sligo. I know we have to face them again after Christmas, but that was an important win when we look at the other results of the weekend.
Yeah, it was very important, especially with the boys that we missing with the Irish 20s and the academies team and stuff, that we can delve deep down into our squad in terms of seconds and 20s players, and we can go up to Sligo and we can still win. Our defence on the day was absolutely incredible. We had to make 189 tackles. We had one player, Max Holmes, to make 27 by himself. Some incredible numbers. Serious heart, serious fight. This block in particular was incredibly difficult. Dungannon away, Sligo away, Rainey in the middle at home. If you look at the table, you think, oh, Wanderers have gained ground on us and the Estonians have tipped away a bit on us by 2 points. But to come away from this block with 13 points with the players that are out, and up until round 7, the first 6 games, we only had 2 enforced changes. We were really settled, and over the last couple of weeks now, it's been a lot of players in, a lot of players out with injuries and people away and stuff. So yeah, to finish off Christmas, 8 wins from 9, sitting second in the table. Yeah, we'll take that.
The thing about it is, anybody who knows the Energia League knows that if you're in a good position going up to the end of the first block of games, because that's the way it's organised, first block goes up to Christmas, second block begins immediately afterwards, that you now know what you need to do for that second half of the season. And it does start with Sligo coming to Corinthian Park. You got the away win. That was important in Strandhill. We've never had that much luck up there, but to come away with that win and now know they're coming down here means that we have a pretty good idea of what we need to do for the first 3 or 4 games of that second block.
And we had 5 away games and 4 at home in the first before Christmas, and now we're going to have 5 at home and 4 away. That hopefully we get some help out of that. But in terms of Sligo, on the 13th of January, we'll be welcoming some guys back into the squad, and like Sligo, they dominated the scrum. They had a really good maul. They really hurt our lineup, and yet we still got the win. So they'll be hopefully scratching their heads, wondering what's going to happen there. But we also, the week before now, we've Senior Cup semi-final against Bucks, and there's a lot of talk about that now in the club, and there's a big focus on that. We want to give the club a day out in the sports ground on Paddy's Day. We want to get to a Senior Cup final, and that's very clear from the word go. Like, we played Weeges in the league, and we knew the winner that was going to get third and get a Senior Cup semi-final. So that was really important to us, beating Weeges that day. And again, now it goes into Buccaneers. And down in Athlone, they got a cracking win at the weekend. They're a good quality Division 1 side, so it's going to be a really good test, and we're really looking forward to it. But we think we can go down, and we think we can do it, and we think we can get to the sports ground.
And it's been a while since Corinthians have won the Senior Cup. I mean, we had Sligo in the final a couple of seasons ago. It didn't happen. It would be lovely to get that cup back again.
I keep saying it to all the lads, and it comes to the seconds and 20s and the thirds. We badly need silverware. I think winning becomes a habit, and now we just need to, the seconds got to the junior plate final last year, got to the Curly Cup final, got to the Curly Cup final again this year. We still haven't got that silverware. We haven't got over the line, and we badly want silverware. And if you look, we're in really good positions now with the 20s topping their league. So I think 4 more wins should see them winning that league, which would be absolutely incredible. JP2. And that puts them in a really good position in that cup then heading into after the league. The seconds, the juniors, they are guaranteed a home semi-final playoff, and we have 1 round to go there, and if we win that and Ballyhonus do us a favour against Bucks, we could top that league, we could go straight into the final and another day out on the sports ground. But most likely we'll probably have Corrib or Ballinasloe in a playoff semi-final. There's another chance. Thirds are doing really well, they're top in their league, so the second half of the season could be really exciting. There could be a real chance of doing a lot of really, really impressive things.
Yeah, that's in fact where we're going to go next. We'll go to the seconds if we can, for just because that Curly Cup final didn't go your way. But in saying that, this team and anybody who's watched any of your games and you've seen any of the videos on social media have seen a team that have improved continuously throughout the season.
Yeah, we've had a really strong first half of the year. I suppose it was disappointing a couple of weeks ago in the Curly Cup final. We got there last year as well. Got beaten heavily by NUIG last year, and obviously we're a lot more competitive this year. We've got a really strong squad. Obviously it's boosted by a lot of the guys that have come up through the 20s from last year and who are now over age and obviously playing with us and playing with the thirds, across the senior teams. But yeah, it was disappointing. We were close against Buccaneers. We played them now 2 or 3 times this year and narrowly lost in each time. To be honest, the Curly Cup final was a hard one to take. We kind of fell behind early on in the game by 6 points and never really recovered. But to be honest, there's a lot to look forward to. I mean, we've, as Michael said, we've set ourselves up in the league well. We've got Monivea as the final game in the league in the new year, and we've also got the first game back is against Ballyhonus in the Junior Cup. So that's a really exciting proposition to potentially go through that game with a good win at home, and then play Craigs, who are obviously doing really well in J1A. That'll be a really good test for us as a seconds team.
What was the feeling overall with the draw for the Junior Cup, apart from cursing me because I actually oversaw it? It was a fascinating draw overall. But to get to be in the prelims, would you have been happier just go straight into the last 16?
I suppose from my perspective, it's an extra game on the belt. To be honest, we've obviously had a couple of games that didn't go ahead this year, so we'll take the extra game. To be honest, it's good prep, I think, as well for heading into the game against Craigs then at the next stage. Obviously, if we progress and if we win, which we're confident that we can do that. But Craigs is a great test. I think we played them last year, also in the Junior Cup. It could have been prelim game or early stages anyway, and we got well bet down in Craigs, to be honest. But we're a much stronger squad this year, and it's a great test for us to go into that then, and hopefully with a win after Ballyhonus to get.
And on that
the game
point, the team that you actually have, or the squad that you have, I mean, there's so much experience in it right across the board. You've lads who have played first rugby.
Yep.
You've good young up and comers who are hungry and they want to play at a very, very high standard. And this is why the seconds, and I'll ask Jeremy the same question with the thirds, is that there seems to be, it's an entity on its own, but still inside the Corinthians umbrella, which means that it benefits, and everyone benefits as a result.
Well, I suppose just when I first came to Corinthians in 2008, 2009 was my first season. When I came up playing under 20s, I came to college here in Galway and started playing with Corinthians. And at that time, the seconds was really the heartbeat of the club. And that's really what we're striving the seconds team to be, the seconds and thirds team, really, to be honest. That needs to be the heartbeat of the club that's really driving the culture, the positive culture in the club. And that's what we're really aiming for, to be honest. And we've got a really nice core group of players this year with experience and obviously some young talent in there as well. But it's a bit more settled than last year. Last year was very, let's say, mixed in terms of we didn't really know what was the squad or the team that we were going to have at the weekend, but it's a lot more stable this year, which is great. And yeah, we've got to be driving the culture positively in the club as the seconds and thirds team. That's really where it's at for me, and that was what I experienced when I first came to Corinthians. That really the seconds team was built on a really strong, experienced team and squad, and that's really what I'm striving for, building with the seconds team. I've probably only maybe got one more season to go myself, but we'll see how the body fares out. But that's really what I'd like to see, is the seconds being really strong, and people are really pushing to come up from thirds as well and play seconds. I'd really like to see that people are ambitious and they really want to play at a higher level. To be honest, us as a club, we should be striving for our seconds team playing in J1A. And that's where we aim to be. So for me, promotion this year is key. We've got to get back up into the top ranks of junior rugby. That's where Corinthians should be. It's where I always remember us being, playing in J1A, competing for junior cups, competing for top of the league, and obviously promotion to AIL. Well, not into AIL, but competing at the top of the league anyway in J1A, and that's where we need to be. And I think we've got to set ourselves a target as a club for within the next 2 to 3 years that we're fighting at the top of J1A.
And are you confident that you can break that kind of monopoly in J1A that is there if Corinthians are promoted? I mean, at the moment, you've got Craigs, you've got Connemara, to a lesser degree, Dunmore, Castlebar have been very competitive this year as well.
Yeah.
That you can actually, like past memories, I've seen Corinthians teams taking on the likes of those Castlebars, Craigs, and Tunes and beating them in huge matches. Can you do the same?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, it's still the talent coming through at under 20s. And the age profile of our overall squad between seconds, thirds, and 20s, it's really young. So, if we look to next year, these 20s lads coming through, they're going to play somewhere. They're going to be playing seconds and thirds. Not everyone's going to be playing first team. So we've really got to make it as higher grade as possible, the rugby that we play. And for us, it's got to be promotion this year. That's got to be a key target. And that's a way that we can retain these players coming up through the ranks, because they're playing at a higher level, even when they're playing for the seconds team. So, we obviously played Castlebar last year in the plate final. I suppose they ran away with it at the end, but we were very competitive for 60 minutes. And to be honest, that was with a weaker squad than really we have even this year for the first half of the season. So, I'd be confident that we can be really competitive, looking at the young talent coming through and the squad that we have this year as well, at which we'd hope to retain, largely 90-95% of those guys next year and on into the future. So, yeah, really excited.
Jeremy, I'm going to come to you next, because one thing about the Thirds was always a team that nobody knew exactly where they stood, because they were either the social team or they were the team of players coming down the ranks or whatever. But what you've done this season is you've thrown that all on its head. And, not only have you a squad that are very strong in your own right, but you've brought the fun back into the Thirds as well, dare I say it, because, when a team wins, they have their own identity, and that's exactly what this team has.
Yeah, and it's like Michael said earlier, I think, as you start winning, it becomes easier to win because you build that winning mentality. I think this year what we've looked for is just providing that bit of structure around the team. It's difficult with Thirds, like you said, you kind of go between being a social team or how competitive do you make it, because people that are playing for us, a lot of them can't commit full time to playing rugby, which is why they're with us, or you've lads who are coming back, haven't played in years. So you kind of want to make it something enjoyable so that you're getting them in the door, into the club, and then building from there. And I think with that, the structure that we've been able to put around it now, there's myself, there's Duffs, there's Tom Glynn, and there's Val and Jambo. There's kind of 5 lads who are there every night training with the guys Tuesday, Thursday, bringing them through the drills and trying to make, I suppose, build a squad culture around it, make sure that everyone's encouraged to come out, fighting for team places, which I think is really important. And then, like you said, winning, because I think when you're winning, everything becomes a lot more enjoyable, and it's a lot easier to go out in the rainy nights and the cold in the winter when you're winning. And in that sense, we've had a good year so far, for sure. We've only lost one game in the pre-season cup, but we're still in the semi-final of that, which will be coming up in February. We're top of the league, as Michael said earlier, which is great. And yeah, we've been able to get through a lot of games as well, which I think is important for a lot of these guys.
For some of the guys that maybe coming to, I'll say at the end of their careers, and I'll say that in inverted commas, they're still competitive. They still want to. Michael was talking about the importance of having silverware in the club. It's been a while, and these guys, even though they might be feeling that they're coming to the end of their time, they want to finish with silverware as well, and that's something that has carried on, and that's why you've become as good as you have been this season. Because even though there is a bit of a social element to the side and all that stuff, these lads still want to win titles.
That's it. And it is that thing. We are a competitive team, and there are, I won't name names now because they'll give out to me, but older players in the squad, who might be in their last season or two playing. I'm out injured this year. I'm only 29, but you never know really as well when we're going to have to hang up the boots, kind of thing. So every time you have a chance to fight for silverware, you want to win. Last year we lost in the league final ourselves, and it was a tough loss. We were missing a few key lads on the day, and we're still bitter about that, to be honest. I think that team left a bit behind them on the day. And yeah, we're fighting on 3 fronts now. We'll have the Ordinary Craig at the end of the year. We have the leagues, they're still top of the table there, fighting for that one, and still the pre-season tournament with the semi-final to come that we all want. And we want to make sure we bring some silverware back into the club, because those are the days you play for as well.
And is that the reason why a lot of the lads that played in last season's defeat are back again this season? We're getting an element of continuity as well, because Thirds teams, you can have sometimes almost a full squad through no fault of your own. It's just because some lads have decided to call it a day and more lads are coming in. But there's continuity with this team from lads who played last season onto this season.
Yeah, there is now. At the same time, we lost quite a few, which was a pity. But it's just the same of that. But I think there was a hunger there from those lads. I was chatting to them in the off season, saying, trying to get them back. Driving to get us that bit of silverware and pushing them. We did leave it behind us last year in the sense of we had more to give on the final. We were outplayed, but we definitely left a lot on the table in terms of what we could have done. And I think definitely it drives us a bit now in training. There's a focus there of what we want to achieve this year, and definitely bringing silverware back is a key thing for us.
Michael, can I come back to you for a second, because there's a question in my mind I want to ask you specifically, and that is the importance of progression through the squads, the 18s, 20s. Some will move to third, some will go direct to second, some will go direct to first. But we've always talked about the importance of guys getting games when they have finished up a certain age groups, because there's there could be a dangerous fall off if it's not there for them. You set out to do that at the start of the season. You must be very, very happy as we kind of move on towards Christmas and the end of 2023 that has now become the case.
Yeah, I said it in our last podcast that one of my highlights so far of the year was when the thirds played Wegians after the 20s back in September, and there was 7 or 8 guys playing that day that would have played 20s over the last season, the season before, and even a bit this year, like Toby and that. So that's they feel there's a reason to come back out to Corinthians after under 20s. It's not just I play 20s, I play IL, and there's nothing else for me. There's there actually is a lot for you. There's an awful lot for you in the club. So that's it's a huge. That's how I judge myself. Am I being successful as a director of rugby and a head coach more than anything else? It's about retention and people coming back. Not about they want to come back. They want to be out in Corinthians. They want to play for Corinthians. They want to be around the dressing rooms. There's this. I think after the last home game against Rainey, the clubhouse was really, really good. The 20s got up and they done their carol singing, the seconds and the first, and the girls won the competition, whatever. But the fact that they were all there and it was driven by our third manager, Brendan Duffy, which is brilliant. So there's a real collective spirit there. But it's really important that players are coming through and they see that there's if I'm not quite good enough for AL or I'm not committed enough to play rugby or train twice a week, well, there's a really good quality thirds team. There's a really good vibe and bond there. But also the seconds is hugely important in terms of that transition to play. So a perfect example is Alex Burke this year. So Alex is dominating scrum. He's a tie head prop. He's dominating scrums at under 20s level. It's brilliant to see, and he's not the only prop there that's doing it. There's so many props coming through. It's brilliant. But we said Al was very close to AIL, and there's James Duffy and other guys there as well. It's very close to AIL. And we said, well, we have to give Albo a crack at adult rugby. So he played against Loughrea a couple of weeks ago with the junior team. And he went out and he, again, dominated the scrum there, carried really well, rocked really well. He's very close. And when we needed him up in Dungannon to come on, and when we needed him in Sligo, it was there. In that transition, that Loughrea game actually helped. It helped him probably realise, he's only out of under 18s rugby 2 years, but I'm there, I can do it.
I have a question for the three of you, and I'll come to that in a second, but I want to just touch on the internationals, because you mentioned the likes of Sean Nocton, of course, wasn't available last weekend because he was with the Irish under 20s when they took on Italy, but there's a couple of other guys that have sprung to that spring to mind, and one is in fact Sean Walsh, who's had a fantastic season. Max Holmes as well. Tomas, there's a few boys that are now making names for themselves at an international level as well. And while you might not have them playing for the first, to see them move on and to do so well with their country is a good thing.
It's class, yeah. The Irish under 20s have 2 Corinthians in it every year for the last 4 years, apart from Matty's year. I think we'd only one in. So that's incredible. You're talking about 7, 8 Corinthians guys playing Irish under 20s, and so I actually watched that game this morning. Sean Nocton came on there with maybe 20 minutes to go and played quite well. Max played the full 80 minutes, which is brilliant for Max. So Max had 2 weeks off there. 2 weekends off with us because he played 12 weeks in a row, which is brilliant for Max. And he done quite well. He played very well, and Sean came on and played well. And Tomas got his first crack at AIL rugby up against I think it was Dungannon. And he was super off the bench. He was really, really good that day.
Outstanding against Rainey.
Yeah. And again, came on. He should have scored a try against Sligo last weekend. He definitely scored a try. The referee said it was held up, but he done so well to get in around the scrum. And I think he got the ball down, but the ref said no. And we've all had seen Sean Walsh coming through. It's unbelievably exciting. I'm not going to mention the names that people are comparing him to, because it's not fair in the kid. But those comparisons are being made with certain former Leinster centres, and he is he's a freak of nature coming through, and it's really exciting to see what he will do next year for the club. because it is going to be as soon as that.
Just on the girls' game for men, I mean, the under 18s in the last few weeks have been absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they put up 100 points against Buccaneers, 76 points against Castlebar. They're winning games for fun. They're scoring tries for fun. You know, we always talk about the development of these young players. I mean, if they stay together, we're going to have one hell of a senior team in a couple of years.
Yeah, and not only that, like there's been a lot of girls have come in and joined the club this year, and that solely goes back to the idea that Corinthians is the place you want to be. So Will and Catherine are doing a great job there, and it flows right around through the 16s and 14s. It's like you see them out there training twice a week, and you actually see they're getting some kicking coaching and stuff as well. And they went off, I think, last week with Will, and they done their individual player pictures, for their team announcement stuff. And we've started putting up all the youth teams on our social media every Saturday morning as well. So if there's 3 games at the weekend or 9 games at the weekend, we'll try to put up all the. Ideally, I'd love to put up all the team sheets, but some coaches like to just put up squads. But it's great that the players get to see their names up on social media and stuff. And again, that's another thing that makes Corinthians to be a place that you want to be. And the girls' side is flying at the minute, and the numbers, like we to try and make sure that we have enough pitch space for everyone, and on the wet weeks, like you're trying to manage the 2 pitches with the Astro and stuff, and why are we trying to manage it? Because the numbers are so good, like, and especially the girls' side of the club is growing and growing and growing, and we needed to keep going.
As I say with underage and minis, the underage minis, in fact, have been, there are blitzes nearly every second week or every third week. Underage teams, so many of them. You mentioned about the team sheets. There was one case there a few weeks ago. I think it was 7 teams that went out actually that particular weekend, and every squad was named, which was fantastic for them. But again, it's showing the kids are wanting to play, and it's not just a squad of 20 or 30, 20 or 22 players. It could be 30.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of the squads I'm putting down. There's at least 22 players on the squad. There's been a couple of 25, and some of them are under 15s when they're putting out 2 teams, and every so often they get the white team out as well, the third team, which is incredible. So there's a lot of really good things happening in youth, and minis are. Dave's doing a really good job there as well. There's been a couple of our senior coaches have brought their kids in to join our minis, and they're absolutely loving it. The feedback's really, really good.
And the kids, of course, loving when some of the senior players are actually down helping out as well, because they get involved with some coaching sessions, and these are the you talk about the senior players. The first players are the players that those kids are aspiring to be in a few years' time, and when they actually throw in their contribution as well, it's fantastic for them.
Well, 2, Owen Butler and Kyle Ford just left our coaching system, so they went right up through to under 17s with that team last year. And for those players to go back and say, I was coached by Kyle Ford for 4 or 5 years, like, how brilliant is that? And Butts will be the same in a year or 2. And now we have the new group, so Tomas Farding, Paddy Flannery, they coach there with the 17s. That's right, Robin, 17s. They're with the 17s, and then you have Max Holmes and Sean Fox and Adam Madden with another group, the 16s, which is again brilliant. They're all AIL players. That's really good, and it's something that Rob has driven really hard to make sure there's players involved. And we'd like if there was more players involved, and I would love that if every Saturday morning we'd one AIL guy going down doing a bit with the minis and stuff. But these things will come in time, like go in the right direction with all that.
Yeah, just to mention, actually, I mean, anybody who sees the team selections sees the fantastic list of sponsors that are there. And as we do come to the end of 2023, we are here in the Skeff, this amazing place. Downstairs, it's absolutely buzzing. I can't wait to go down in a few minutes. But it's fantastic to have the Skeff, because given the history as well, because there's always been an association between Corinthians and the Skeff, and it's fantastic to have the Skeff on board.
Absolutely, yeah. They're allow us to come up and record this podcast and do a lot of work behind the scenes for us. And I think hopefully this will grow and grow and grow, and we actually want to do a live podcast in January before the Sligo game. So hopefully we'll be able to get full club buy into that on that night. So I think that's going to be an absolute cracking game on that Saturday, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get some Sligo people on the stage that night as well to come down and preview the game. But they've been really good to us. They're reposting a lot of stuff we put up on social media and stuff, and again, we've gone heavy on the social media side over the last 2 years. I fundamentally believe it's a way of really promoting our players. Like, right throughout the club, we're playing some outrageously good rugby. Like, and why not celebrate it? Why not put it out there? We're not reinventing rugby or anything. Like, we're not trying to hide anything. So let's put out as much as we can and let every other player see what we're doing in Corinthians and stuff. And Skeff is a huge help with all that.
Absolutely. And just to say, by the way, that if you can over the Christmas period at all, please come down to the Skeff. Please support them, and please support our sponsors, because without sponsors, we don't have a club. And it is so appreciated. So please support our sponsors, especially the Skeff. When you do get a chance to get out over the Christmas, lads. Quick question before we go, because as we kind of reach the 6 month mark or the halfway mark of the season, it's report card time. So we must start with you. One highlight, one low light of the past 12 months.
Well, I suppose
and you haven't been told about this, so you couldn't prepare.
So I think the low light has got to be the Curly Cup finals. To be honest, that was a great opportunity to secure some silverware early on in the season. Highlight, there's been a couple of really strong performances. Early in the season, we beat Banlasso well down there. Also Loughrea, we've had a couple of good wins against Loughrea. I think just generally though, I think just seeing the strength and depth that we've had across the teams has been, for me, the highlight. I suppose also just touching on what Michael said about the international recognition. If we think back a few years ago, some of the names that have come through Corinthians, the likes of Ulton Delan, Dennis Buckley, Finlay Beelan, these guys, I'm really excited to see what some of these young players coming through under 20s and even playing AIL now can actually achieve in the game. It'd be great to see some of the names that are currently playing with us, playing for Connacht, obviously getting international recognition in the future. So, that's what excites me. And just, I suppose, being a small part in the club at the minute is absolutely great. And seeing some of the talent is for me, the highlight of the season so far, and long may it continue.
James, same questions. Highlight and low light. What are yours?
For the season, well, the one game we lost is low light. I think that day we really kind of let ourselves down in terms of the performance, which was a pity. But it was early on in the season. It was part of that pre-season tournament, so I won't focus in on it too much. In terms of the highlight, for me personally, we've had a lot of new joiners into the third setup this year. I think we've kind of a squad of over 30 lads who've kind of been down training with us at different points. Seeing some of the lads who've never played contact before, they've come from either a tag rugby background. Some lads have never even picked up a rugby ball, just wanted to play a team sport. Seeing the growth in them from September to now is huge, where before they weren't confident on the ball, and 3 months on now they're getting very confident. They're fighting for a starting place in the team sheet. They love the club. They've been down at all the events. They were part of the carol singing with the Thirds, did a good rousing rendition of Wish You a Merry Christmas. And it's just that kind of thing. I think from a Thirds perspective, that's what you want. You want to see players who have never played before learning the game and developing. And lads, just enjoying the game. So for me, that's really been it, just seeing players develop and kick on, and then hopefully we'll see the same in the new year now.
Yeah, and long may that continue. Michael's question for you is the same one. Your highlights of the last 12 months and the low light.
The low light would be the second half against the Estonians. 13-0 up at half time. Confident enough we could have seen the job out. Come away at a bonus point is still incredible, but we it would have been great to get that job finished up there. The only defeat we've had now in the IL. The highlight is Friday night after Dolphin, after the game. That was a great night in Cork. We took a gamble going down on the Friday. We left here at 1 o'clock. Something we haven't done before, something I've never done before. So it was a bit of a gamble, but it worked out, and the lads couldn't go anywhere but go out. They couldn't go home. They had to go out. So we'd a good crew of I won't call them old fellas, but we'll call them supporters down, and they enjoyed themselves more than the players as well. So it was a real good. That was a brilliant night. Bomber getting lost in the rain and ringing people to try and find a hotel and stuff. Like falling into puddles and stuff. It was a brilliant night in Cork. That's been the highlight so far, and those things matter. Those things really, really, really matter. The way it really bonds a group together. So that was massively important. I seen a different side to some players that night, to be honest.
And actually, and I'll start with you again on this one, but what would be your hope for 2024? Because as we do move into Christmas, and as we have Buccaneers in the Senior Cup semi-final, Sligo back in the Energia League, a very interesting group of games ahead, a very exciting group of games ahead, I may add. Everybody will have one probably ambition, and I'll ask you lads the same question. What would be yours?
Yeah, I really want the seconds to get promoted. I think that's hugely important to get up to J1A, because I printed out the list the other day of the 20s that are overage coming through next year, and it's scary talent, and they're all in first or second year in college. So they're staying around for another 2 years, and we need the best quality rugby for them if they're not playing AIL. like I'm probably going to curse us here, like, but we've been in the playoffs in the AIL for the last 2 years, and we have to go up. We simply have to go up. The talent is there. We're good enough to go up. Wanderers are right on our heels there. I think Dungannon or Sligo are going to make a good run for the playoffs. Rainier, they're still there. Like Sligo came from absolutely nowhere last year to get into the playoffs. Some team will do that in our league. So the playoffs will be unbelievably challenging. We're not giving up. We still think we can catch Estonians, but just want to get up to 2A. I think Corinthians is a big enough club to be in at least 2A, if not 1B, in the next couple of years. Like, we have a huge catchment area. We have crazy amount. Like, next year, I'd be 80% certain that we'll be able to put out a 5th senior team. Whether that's an under 23 team or a second 20s team, whatever it's going to be, I reckon we're going to put out 5 senior teams next year. The players are there, so the hope is let's just go up. Let's just get the job done this year. 3rd year lucky, hopefully.
Dermot, I'll go to you. What would be your hope for the thirds then for next season, or for next year?
Hopefully some silverware, but I don't want to curse us with that. I think really with where we set ourselves up, I'd be looking for a final in the league, final in the pre-season, just fighting for that really the whole way through. And I'd really like to put a good stab at the Ordinary Craig at the end of the year. I think that's kind of what we should be aiming for. And I really like to see it get it. And then most importantly, from a thirds perspective, a tour, which we've been talking about for a while, but we really want to get something at the end of the year, reward the lads for kind of the hard work. Tom Glynn is on it, so he's the man for the job, so hopefully it will happen. But I'd love to get that in as well.
I'd love to go in it. That would be some tour. Liam, from the second point of view.
Yeah, I think Michael nailed it. It's his promotion to J1A. It's really, really important. We've obviously got Buccaneers most likely as our main contender for promotion. We played them already twice, if not 3 times this year. Been very competitive, but we've got to go again. Obviously, we've got to progress through playoff game, depending who we come against. It's likely going to be Buccaneers again in the final for the league promotion. So, that's going to be a massive game. Look, we've got to be realistic as well. It's going to be tough in the new year. We're going to be missing lads, obviously, in the first. Of course, that pulls players up from the seconds and 20s, of which obviously we'll feel that impact. But we've still got a strong enough squad, and we've got enough depth to be able to be really competitive in those games next year. So for me, the absolute goal is promotion. Absolutely, that's priority number 1. We've got a good test, obviously, in the Junior Cup run as well. That'll really test us, and it'll stand us in good stead. But it's got to be promotion out of the league into J1A, and that's vital for the club. It's
going to be an amazing 2024, all going well. It's been a fantastic 2023. Liam, Jim, and Michael, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thanks indeed also to Rob Dolan, to all the team behind the camera, to everyone here in the Skeff, and please support them over the Christmas period, and to all of our sponsors, because like I said, without you, there just simply isn't a club, and we can't function the way that we want to. On behalf of everyone at Galway Corinthians Rugby Football Club, may I wish you all a very happy Christmas, a bright and prosperous 2024, and we hope to see you out in Corinthian Park very, very soon. But from all of us here in the Skeff, it's good night.